Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. I hope everybody's doing good. Thank you to everybody who has interacted with the social media pages. Love it a lot. Thank you. Also, thank you to everybody who has checked in on me through my surgery and recovery. I appreciate you guys greatly. Still recovering, still making it, still podcasting. I did want to say if anybody has a suggestion, you can reach out to me at thatfloridafeel@gmail.com. I also want to give a shout out to Unfiltered Studios, especially Keb, who held it down for me while I was dealing with things. But they have a lot of awesome podcasts there. So if you're looking for a new podcast and you want to find one that has maybe a topic you've never thought of, or you like movies or things like that, there's just something for everybody at Unfiltered Studios. So don't forget to check them out. Okay, guys. So today we're going to talk about something I've seen, driven past it many, many, many times. But it's the Devil's School. That's right. There's a place in Florida called the Devil's School. And it's right there in Duval. I had to. I actually hate when people do that, but I had to. Now, it's in Jacksonville. And it's a school that's been around a really long time. And somehow it has a very, very interesting background. So, let's start off with the history about it. It's public school number 4. Later, it was renamed Annie Little Elementary School. But it's been abandoned for quite a while. But it's been also around for quite a while. It was first established in 1918 as Riverside Grammar School, which was actually Duval County's 4th public schoolhouse. And it is, by the way, a landmark, but it is also said to be very haunted. So let's talk about why it's so haunted. Public school number 4, again, was Riverside Park School, which was actually built in 1891. So it's much older than we think. The school was a boxy wooden frame structure that, they later decided that might have been a fire hazard and a little bit unstable. So let's rebuild it. So in 1915, Duval County passed a $1 million bond to build a brand new, beautiful brick schoolhouse, including the one to replace Riverside Park School. Construction began in 1917, and it was completed in 1918 as Riverside Grammar School. It was the 4th public schoolhouse, and it was actually had 4th public schoolhouse inscribed on it to reflect. The later got changed to Annie Little Public School around 1950, and the principal of Riverside Park School, Annie Little Hoosh. She was the principal. She was well known. She did lots of great things. They renamed it after her. Now, most of the school is constructed with poured concrete, and that was really designed to withstand anything, especially hurricanes. Now, the school originally overlooked Riverside Park until the construction of 95 and I-10. And if you drive past this school, it literally just sits on a tiny piece of property with I-95 and I-10 wrapping completely around it. If you didn't know what it was, you just thought it was an old building. It's very different. And it also looks very haunted when you drive past. In 1960, the school was permanently closed to the public and was used for office space and storage for about 10 years. The building was then sold in 1980 to the Ida Stevens Foundation, and they wanted to renovate it and make it senior citizen apartments. Great idea, but due to federal funding, this never happened. They never got the money. The building has been vacant since, and it is definitely in disrepair, which might add to the hauntings. A fire erupted in the vacant building in 1995, which led to the auditorium roof caving in. In 1999, the Foundation Holding Incorporated purchased the property to convert it into condominiums. But thanks to Floridians understanding that we like to save history, public outcry was so strong, that's how it became a designated landmark in 2000. It has since been purchased in 2011 as a tax deed, and it sits vacant to this day. Now, the schoolhouse has attracted a lot of things: vandals, homeless, drug addicts, future aspiring painters with all their graffiti, artists. But the vandalism and the ruins of the school has led to various local myths that were developed, such as a janitor who tortured students in the boiler room despite the lack of evidence. Sounds like one of the things that The Simpsons did on Treehouse of Horror. But because of these rumors, trespassers often visit the school in attempts to see a ghost or a spirit that may haunt the building. And it's a problem. It is absolutely a problem. The Annie Lytle Preservation Group, who is the property's sole protector and still wants to save the building, stated that the boiler never exploded and killed anyone. Janitors never killed kids. Nothing ever happened. But it hasn't stopped people, so much so that they actually had to post a warning on Facebook. In 2019, trespassers will be arrested if caught on property. It does have a close partnership with JSO. They have arrested 10 people. But it's still got the name The Devil's School, and it's still got a pretty good mystery around it. And of course, it is an impressive structure. It is a looming, large brick building. And it is definitely vacated and definitely in need of repair. And all this just really kind of adds to its lore. It truly is a place in Jacksonville that is just full of lore. And of course, when it was vacated, it did become popular for wayward teens, drug addicts, squatters, homeless, and people wanting to explore the abandoned building. And of course, legends continue to grow. And it acquired reputation, and I'm laughing because we know this is true, the most haunted place in Jacksonville. And then it became the Devil's School. Like I said, one popular tale is the janitor who used to take students to the boiler room and burn them alive. One day, one of the students escaped, caused an explosion, which started a fire. Another variation of the tale also says that the principal of the school at one point could have been a cannibal who kept kids who were sent to detention in a special meat locker in his office, where students were gutted and hung on spikes until the Hannibal-esque principal could devour them. There's also rumors of satanic and occult activity in the abandoned building, and plenty of other stories that run rampant. People who visited the site say a huge tree grows somewhere in the depths of the abandoned school, but nobody has ever seen such tree. But given these just massive amount of people who tried to go through the decaying walls, there is possibility of some specters. There is possibility of a tree. You don't really know, but it's definitely got a haunting reputation. And of course, like I said, it doesn't look good at all, so I could see how that came about. I think it's great that they want to explore this, considering that there are so many other haunted places in Jacksonville, like the Kingsley Plantation, Taco Lou, Evergreen Cemetery, which actually has tales of specters, many tales. But yet people still go to this really foreboding schoolhouse in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Jacksonville to try and catch a glimpse for themselves. I think it's great though that there's a psychotic janitor involved and a cannibalistic principal. And of course, if you go in there and you see the graffiti, there actually are, pictures of satanic things. And that's really kind of probably where it got the nickname The Devil's School. Now, with urban legends, there aren't truth to these stories. There's never been a report of an actual boiler blowing up, or a janitor who killed kids, or kids that didn't go home, or a cannibalistic principal. But, let them say what they want. I mean, what else are you going to do? It's Jacksonville. And of course, it's really sad because this building is beautiful, and it is very old, and it does have such a great history behind it. But it's so strange because when you drive past it, it just looks like it's going to fall in at any minute. Hasn't stopped people from going. And I don't blame them. And what's worse is like the educator, the principal it was named after, she was a great educator. She lived right down the street from the building. Everybody affectionately called her Miss Annie. She was a stern disciplinarian, but she cared. And people talked about her strictness, but her caring all the time. In fact, one student, Susan, told a reporter that she was very short, and if they didn't like her, they called her old pretty face. Sounds like kids. But she remained principal for 35 years. And she's actually buried in Evergreen Cemetery. But she's helped make that school great. And so it's kind of sad that it has just kind of fallen into the devil's school and not being remembered for something, great, like the great teachers that were there or any famous students who passed through its hallways. And what's worse is they just kind of let it rot. And if you see a picture from above, there's a gaping hole where the auditorium is, and you just see trees growing in it or beside it. Maybe that's the ghost tree, maybe. But it still stands. It really does still stand. It's a very well-built building. That's what's insane. And of course, these legends didn't really start until the 1970s, but if you're from Jacksonville, you've probably heard of it. I've heard of it long before I decided to talk about it on a podcast, which is really strange because St. Augustine is right down the road. Seriously, or Fort Caroline. Jacksonville has a lot of haunted places, but this one is still strict out of urban legend. Just straight out of it. And of course, people would go in and try to do like seances, things that would bring ghosts out of the grounds. I don't know. I don't know. There's people who've talked about going in there. Somebody went in around 2003, and they said it's a scary place. And it's the only time that they have had a paranormal experience, which says a lot in that part of Florida. He said that they were on the stage in the auditorium, and they could hear dozens of kids' voices just out of nowhere. Now that does sound kind of wild, but it does also sound plausible. There were so much history in this building. And other people have said that they've heard noises, they've heard disembodied footsteps. So is it possible it's haunted? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people who've explored it also talk about the basement or the cellar area as just creepy and ominous. I could get that. It's a basement. Aren't most basements kind of creepy? But a lot of people who go to this place say that you just feel people watching you of just the whole time you're in there, even if you're the only ones in there. And of course, people talk about the devil worshiping cults, the seances, things like that. So, it really could have added credence or opened a door to the reason why this is called the Devil's School. And then there are people who visited who've said that they've never seen anything and they've never heard anything. I don't know. I don't know what to say on this one. I've been past it. It looks creepy. I don't know. I'm not saying go. I'm not saying go down there and find out. Now I do have one person who actually talked about them, and it's a writer, Tim Gilmore of Jack's Psycho Geo. And, he talks about how the legend evolved and became the Devil's School. He said that he went down there twice as a teenager in the early 90s. And he said that some things happen when you're that age that just kind of become your own mythology. You kind of create your own legend. And he said that going into public school number 4, that was where his legend got created. And he said that before he went, he didn't recall any of the now common ghost stories like the janitor or the cannibalistic principal. And he didn't know anything about devil worshippers there. He said the thing that I really remember was this story that somebody had hung himself over the stage, and that sometimes people would go in the school and still see him hanging there, even if it happened a long time ago. So yet this adds a whole other dimension to what we've already heard could be haunting this place. He said on the second trip, an artistically talented friend had an idea to spray paint different rooms with themes. He did a Volkswagen bug room. He drove a bug. So, of course, he did a peace room with flowers. But in one of the rooms, they painted flames on the walls and called it the Hell Room. Okay, maybe he actually did create the own myth of the Devil's School. Gilmore was perplexed some months later when the local news station did a story on Annie Little and featured footage of the Hell Room, the one that he had helped create. He said he remembers the camera painting slowly across the flames, and news reporters that our graffiti was absolute evidence of satanic activity going on at the school, which was news to him as he grew up a Christian. But you got to remember, guys, in the early 90s, satanic panic was a huge thing. And so the media probably didn't help that theory. And probably actually also lend credence to the myth of devil worshippers in the school. He said that he was actually annoyed by it, that they stole our vision, but also weirdly proud that they did something that made the news. Because, of course, they didn't show the Volkswagen bug room or the peace room. They only showed the Hell Room. If I was him, I'd probably kind of be annoyed too. And, of course, over the years, more graffiti has come about. But people obviously took this graffiti as absolute proof that people were in there worshiping Satan. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think that it's a very old school that possibly could be saved, but what you have now is an absolute urban decay of a building that's actually beautiful on its own, that has somehow absolutely captured all of the people's imaginations in Jacksonville. It is something that you still hear about to this day. It is something that people talk about. When you drive by, you know exactly what it is. And I think that just kind of lends to Jacksonville's lore. You know, and Jacksonville does have a lot of lore. You can, you know, the Human Z, which I talked about in another episode about earlier this year or late last year. And you have all the hauntings around St. Augustine, and you have all the hauntings on Jack's Beach and Fort Caroline. But yet somehow the Devil's School prevails. Somehow it really still prevails that satanic cult worshippers, ghost of a cannibalistic principal or janitor who tortured kids, a guy who hung himself, and who knows what else actually happened in that school. So the next time you're in Jacksonville and you're driving down 95 or 10 and you look over and you see this decaying, decrepit building, and when you drive by, you can only very well see the top of it and the corner with all these vines growing up, and you just know it's an old building. Well, you've just seen yourself the Devil's School. No Florida man today. I think we've talked about enough Florida man with the people who visited the Devil's School and started rumors. And I think it's a great urban legend / myth. And I've even told people about it. I'm telling y'all about it. So, you know, if you're looking for something spooky to do this month, maybe drive past. There's actually a road that goes right next to it. I'm not going to tell you which one. You got to find out on your own. As I do not recommend getting a trespass warning from JSO. But guys, I hope you enjoyed learning about the Devil's School in Jacksonville. And, you know, let me know if you guys have any suggestions. If not, still hurricane season. So far, we've dodged everything we're supposed to. Hopefully we can stay that way this year. Hope you guys have a great week. Drink your water, wear your sunscreen, do not be an asshole, and that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.